This is an old story, but I just wanted to share. At the time, we had been married for about 5 years. We both made good money and lived downtown in my husband's 3-bedroom condo. My mother-in-law would come over during the day to watch her 2-year-old son. One day, I got an email from an unknown address that said, "Your husband is sleeping with so-and-so," a woman from his office. A well-wisher. I immediately deleted it and didn't believe a word. But the doubt started to creep in. I went on a women's forum to read about the signs of cheating, and my suspicions about my husband only grew. I found a lot of signs that he was cheating on me. Everything but sex. That is, we were having sex every day, sometimes more than once. On the surface, he hadn't changed at all. He was just as happy as ever and constantly told me he loved me, which made his lies even more disgusting. I agonized for several months, finding more and more circumstantial evidence, but there was nothing direct. Then, about 3 months later, I got another email with attached photos and video of my husband with that woman. The photos showed him with her in different places, on the street, in their office, in the cafeteria, and also some suspicious non-public locations where they were kissing and hugging. The video was very dark and poorly filmed on a phone, but it was clear they were having sex. That's when I lost it. My first impulse was to kill him or at least confront him. But I held back. Got a grip on myself, and decided not to say anything until I figured out what to do. I called a friend from our group, and she hesitated before admitting that she had heard some gossip a few months back, but didn't know anything for sure. That was all I needed to hear. Not only had he betrayed me, but everyone around me was probably laughing at me. I thought about it for a few days. My husband, of course, noticed that I was distant, but I just told him I was having some female issues and that sex was off the table for a while. I posted a few times on the women's forum, but it really didn't matter anymore because I had decided I couldn't live like this. And I decided I wouldn't just leave quietly. I would make sure he felt what it was like to be in my position. I guess I still loved him, but at the same time, I started to hate him. I had no desire to have an affair, but I forced myself to start responding to a guy at work who had been chatting with me. I also told him that my husband and I didn't have a relationship anymore, which was true at that point. We started meeting up after work, and it eventually led to sex. His apartment was close to the office, and we started meeting up there on our lunch breaks. I even started to enjoy it, and I felt like it would make it easier to let go of my husband. So, without a word, I filed for divorce, citing adultery as the reason. The second part of my revenge was to make sure he found out about my cheating from someone else, just like I had. It didn't take long. I was a little scared he might do something crazy, even though he's a very calm and composed guy. But everything worked out. He followed us and met us outside my lover's apartment building as we were leaving. My guy from work was clearly scared of my husband, who's athletic, and started stammering that I had told him we were getting divorced. It was an awkward moment. I cut him off and told my husband right there on the street that this was my new man and that I had already filed for divorce. I said we could discuss the rest at home that evening and that I would pack my things and move in with my parents over the weekend. He took the news quietly. He didn't ask a single question and just said, "Let's wait until tonight." That evening, I went home ready for a fight, but my husband was calm. When I asked him if he wanted to know why I was leaving him, he just said no.
That hit me hard. Still, I started packing our things, mine and our son's. My husband was silent as a stone and sat down to watch TV. He just seemed gray with no emotions at all. 2 days passed like that. On Friday, I rented a moving truck and he helped me load our things, kissed our son, and just said bye. I could smell alcohol on him. I told him that if he was interested, I had sent him an email with some photos and videos that would explain everything. He just nodded. It was the same stuff I had received. Plus, I had taken a couple of intimate photos with my lover and added a note that said, if you're worried about missing their dick, don't be sad because I already have a new one that's much bigger and better than yours. I was never happy with you. Goodbye. I just wanted to hurt him one last time. I moved out. I didn't hear a word from my husband. My mother-in-law called me a few times and asked me to talk to her and decide what would happen with our son. But I flat out refused to have a relationship with them. Since my son wasn't needed by his father, then no one on their side of the family would see him. I met up with my lover 2 more times and then he ghosted me. I didn't really want him anyway. A month later, I was served with divorce papers. The next time we saw each other was in court, and I was shaking. I had hoped until the last minute that something would happen, that my husband would want to talk to me, that he would beg me to come back, and that they wouldn't grant the divorce. But he didn't say a word, and we were divorced without any issues since I was the one who filed. When the judge asked, he said he never cheated, but didn't object to the divorce. He was ordered to pay alimony to me and for our son. As we were leaving, we came face to face, and all he said was, look at the video. He has a tattoo on his shoulder, so it wasn't me. I didn't cheat on you, if you're interested in knowing. I wish you happiness with your new husband. I told him, go to hell, and as I walked away, I started thinking about his words. The first thing I did when I got home was look at the video again, and sure enough, in a few spots, you could see that the man had tattoos on his shoulder and arm, and my husband had no tattoos. Then I looked at the photos again, and it hit me. In all the pictures where they were kissing and hugging, it was a different person who had a similar build to my husband, and in the photos where my husband's face was clearly visible, there was nothing inappropriate, just 2 people standing next to each other. I got goosebumps down my spine, my legs went weak and wobbly, and it slowly dawned on me that I had been played, that he hadn't cheated. That's when I truly felt sick. In a flash, all my pain and suffering came back to me. How I had forced myself to fall out of love and hate him. How I forced myself to embrace a coworker, to touch in the sex. I almost threw up. And then I remembered everything my husband and I had. He was my first. The vacations we took. Our son. How I used to think I'd give my life for him if I had to. How good everything was. Oh God. I suddenly felt so disgusted with myself, with the idea that I was the one who cheated and he didn't even understand why. I called my now ex-husband. He took a long time to answer, that I heard something incomprehensible, and he hung up. I tried calling him for several days, but he wouldn't pick up. Finally, I called his in-laws. They were ice cold and polite. My mother-in-law said my husband wasn't well and that he would call me himself when he could. That was it. I called him a couple of times a week, and about 2 months later, he unexpectedly picked up in a calm voice. He said, that person doesn't live here anymore. He passed away. Please don't call this number ever again. And then after he paused, I'm sorry, but I won't be able to see our son either. I tried to explain what happened, how I still loved him, how much our son and I missed him. I even lied and said that my lover and I hadn't had sex, that we had just been seeing each other. But my husband was firm and didn't want to listen. Several years have passed since then. I live alone with our son. I occasionally have brief relationships, but without sex. The idea of sex seriously repulses me now. As far as I know, my ex-husband lives alone, gets depressed from time to time, and has started drinking. Neither he nor his mother talk to our son, which is a shame. God, what a shame.